bad position. I'm supposed to stand this way.
No, that was before.
Oh, okay. Oh, the light fixed.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
This is recording. You go.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go over verbally some tips on how to start low carb, high fat, keto omnivore, which involves plant, and also keto carnivore. I now, because you guys see my lovely studio, which that curtain's going to go soon, but for now, I'm going to just verbally explain how to start all three very quickly. So I like to use now, I've incorporated low carb, high fat for the reason that some people are having hypoglycemia and they are also having thyroid symptoms or adrenal fatigue when they first start a low carb or ketogenic protocol. And so there are things that you have to consider. One is you have to have your electrolyte balance, because a lot of you guys might be tired just because you don't have enough real salt, real potassium, magnesium, and enough water in your bate. That goes for all three protocols, dietary. Now, with a low carb, high fat, we got to see that what carbohydrates will work for you without crashing you, right? So we're going to take down the amount of carbohydrate. Now, some people can handle rice, white rice, not brown, and some people cannot. Some people can handle sweet potato as a nightshade, and I believe also as an oxalate, and some cannot. Okay, your movement is, I'm watching it, so I will wait until you get it fixed.
Okay.
So when let me get my brain straight right back. Okay, so when you're starting low carb, high fat, like I said, the grains, some people just can't tolerate grains because often if you grew up eating wheat, there's this thing called cross-reactive. It means that first you could eat wheat, then you couldn't eat wheat, or some people just can't eat wheat or were not able to their entire life. And then the body begins to mimic grains. It can take oats, it can take rice, and you can still have that gluten reaction. So that's why we've got to figure out for those low carb, high fat people what starch will work best for you. It could be yucca, it can be parsnips. I don't know. You have to figure that out by doing a lot of experimentation, or it can be sweet potato. We want to stay away from the bread, the wheat, the white potato, and the red potato for your starch. So you just got to get rid of it. Now, some people can do oats. I prefer that they are bleached, even though they have no nutritional value, but we're only using this as a form of glycogen, and then we want to get off of it eventually. White rice is preferred because the arsenic and the phytic acid has been bleached and obliterated out of the grain, and the arsenic it's in the hull, I believe. Now, things like other vegetables have lectins and oxalates, or oxalates, tomato, carrots, bell peppers. Now that can be problematic for thyroid people. So thyroid people really have to be careful when they're doing low carb, high fat to stay away from foods that will compromise the thyroid, which is all the nightshades. So that's the potato and the tomatoes, and some people can't even tolerate the sweet potato. Once you find out the starch that works for you, and if you're eating low carb, high fat, you still can do low glycemic fruits, even though they are high in lectins. You can do berries from the berry family, green apples, and pears. Those would be the preferred low glycemic fruits. Of course, avocado. If you don't have a latex allergy, you could do avocado or olives. So people always think of fruits as being sweet, but of course we've got olives and avocados. Some can do coconut, cream-ish. With that said, when we go over to keto, and of course the cruciferous vegetables, if you don't react, cooked salads maybe 4 times a year. For for people who are doing the standard keto with vegetables, which I'm calling keto omnivore, you're gonna eat, low carb, high fat. What's very important to mention is that high fat means pretty high. So you want to do about 100 to 150 grams of fat, preferably coming from animal fat, even on a low carb, high fat protocol. And what you really want to do on your higher starch days, which would be max 1/3 cup. So it's more like 1/3 cup per meal, 3 times a day, is you want to potentially have your highest amount of fats in that 100 to 150 in between to not mix them together. But I'll go more into that. Keto omnivore, I've got a million videos on this, but you guys know it's cruciferous vegetables, which is your carbohydrates, which is the broccoli, the cabbage, the cauliflower, the asparagus, which is a grain, and the greens. Spinach, be very careful. It's high in oxalates. You'd have to boil it, squeeze out the water, and fry it. No kale. Nope. That's a no. And then your other green family. Now, people can eat green beans, and if you don't have a fungal infection, you can have mushrooms. Keto, carnivore, that's the easiest one. Keto, both keto, omnivore, and carnivore, you're going to be over 200 grams of fat, starting at 200 to 3, and big guys who are athletes are going to go over 300 grams of fat a day. So with carnivore and all of these dietary protocols, you should have organ meats. That's brain, tongue. We've got the heart and the liver, of course, the best organ out of all of them. The liver and the kidneys, especially for those who've got a DAO deficiency. So carnivore is the same as keto, except you just take out the carbs. You take out all the plants, and you're going to use things like butter or ghee or tallow or lard, depending on if you have a sensitivity. Now, people who do carnivore tend to have histamine intolerance, so some cannot tolerate butter because of the whey and casein. Some people, by the way, on keto carnivore, you do not do raw milk. You don't do raw milk. And be very careful on the kefir. A lot of you guys have a gut dysbiosis, and so you want to clean out, deconstruct on carnism, keto carnivore. Keep the fats high, no vegetables, only salt, right? Because we want the electrolyte. And you want to use Celtic, the gray salt, and the Himalayan salt, or the real salt as your electrolytes, and keep your fats high, the same as with vegetables, from 200 to 300 grams of fat. Now, I'll go more into the timing of these foods, but I'm trying to do a bunch of videos, and my guy behind the camera is going, you're going overtime. So Steph's learning how to keep the video short. Now I gotta go. If you guys want to learn how to do low carb, high fat, or keto carnivore, or keto omnivore, I do one-on-one consultations, or I have a course that covers all 3 dietary protocols. Or you can go to Stephanie Ketogenic for some really fun tips on my stories, or you can go to Stephanie the Business Person on my Facebook fan page, or just join the course. It's monthly to monthly membership. It's very cheap. It's the cheapest one online. Now I gotta go do my next video. Deuces.